This is the anterior view of a right adult radius. So here we have the proximal end, which articulates with the elbow, and we have the distal end, which articulates with the wrist. And the shaft of the radius, just like the ulna, is it's round in cross section, but then it's got this little pinched section, which makes it look teardrop shaped. So if we look at features up at the proximal end, so we have here, you can see there's the smooth articular bone here, and then on the sort of superior surface as well, which is a little bit indented. So this is the head of the radius. This articulates with the capitulum of the humerus. And then directly beneath that is the neck of the radius. So this portion of the bone here. And then this sort of bump of bone that we can see on the medial side. This is the tuberosity of the radius. It's also called the bicipital tuberosity because the biceps attaches to this area here. So this is on the lateral side, the medial side of the bone. If we look down at the distal end, so on the lateral side we have the bone sort of ends in this point. This is called the styloid process of the radius. So this is what it looks like in the anterior view, and then if we turn it around, you can see it also projecting down to the most inferior point there on the posterior view as well. That's the styloid process, always on the lateral side of the bone. And then on the medial side, we have this little sort of notch, this indentation here, and this is the ulnar notch, because this is where the distal end of the ulna sits. And that's always on the medial side of the bone. So if you've got medial and you've got lateral, you want to know which is anterior and which is posterior. Well, the anterior surface is really nice and smooth down at the distal end, whereas if we turn it over and look on the posterior surface, this is really bumpy and ridged. And this area here is where we find the dorsal tubercles. So the posterior side is bumpy, the anterior side is nice and smooth. Another feature to note is this sharp ridge of bone which runs down the shaft of the bone. So this is called the interosseous crest. And there's one on the ulna as well. I'll just show you how they sit together. So the two sharp crests are here. So they make up the interosseous borders of the bone, so the sharp ridges, which can sometimes help you orient the bone as well. And then let's just see how they articulate, if they do fit together. So there's the head of the radius sitting in the radial notch of the ulna at the proximal end, and then down at the distal end, we've got the head of the ulna sitting in the ulnar notch of the radius. And that makes up the forearm, there we go, on the right side of the arm, the right arm.